Kiwis love being outdoors, so why not transform your outdoor living space with a sun view? With our quality range of stylish pergolas, outdoor blinds and awnings, having a sun view is like adding a new room to your home, but for a fraction of the price. Enjoy the outdoors all year round with a range of products to suit your needs. Book a free consultation now with SunView and see the difference.
Sex workers have expressed frustration with banks' unfair treatment, particularly in relation to accessing financial services. As I said in the intro, the issue came up as part of New Zealand First MP Andy Foster's anti-woke banking bill, which would stop banks from withdrawing services for customers for non-commercial reasons, such as environmental concerns. We've heard about, not wanting to give money to petroleum companies and the like. So he told a select committee hearing that one sector he had heard concerns from was the sex industry. Even though ANZ's Chief Executive Antonia Watson, who was at the select committee, said that she would expect the banks to cater for a legal business owned by a woman, sex workers report difficulties such as being denied loans, insurance, and even basic banking services due to their occupation. Despite paying taxes and ACC levies, many feel subjected to additional scrutiny, with some banks requiring them to prove their work with inappropriate documentation, and we'll get to that as well. ANZ, Kiwi Bank, they've all stated that they provide services to sex workers, but they do have concerns over exploitation and modern slavery, which could result in extra checking. Sex workers argue that these practices stem from outdated views and international influences where sex work is still criminalised. Sex workers' rights advocate is Dame Cathy Healy. It's always good to catch up. Catherine, good afternoon.
Oh, kia ora. Good afternoon.
Sorry,
you can call me anything.
Oh, what have I called you? I've called you Kath 1 minute. Catherine, Cathy. What shall I go?
Totally.
I can call you Kath, can't I? We'll go with that. Have you, unless you want Catherine, it's up to you. Have you personally heard from sex workers who feel they've been unfairly treated by their bank?
Totally. It is a very deep and serious issue for a number of sex workers, and there's always a sense that they're being judged, and it's very difficult because we don't have a lot of data in terms of our occupation that presents in mainstream ways. We do have a lot of prejudice and a lot of stigma that we've captured. We know people look at sex workers in a way that's fairly judgy, and we know that this plays out in all sorts of ways, particularly when we need something desperately like a loan from the bank or a mortgage or respect for our businesses, things like this, or an EFTPOS machine. Yeah. It seems the whole weight of stigma and discrimination comes down upon us, and there's not much we can do about it. We can't turn to the human rights legislation because it doesn't protect occupational groups.
No.
And that would be what we would call for. We'd say, look, the solution to all of this may well be to have anti-discrimination protections in our legislation, as they do now in Victoria, Australia. But I just want to reflect, like when we started our organisation in 1988, we went boldly to the bank in our best gear and signed up our bank account, and we called it the New Zealand Prostitutes Collective. Now, the P word is completely a word that we no longer use. But, the bank took us on as customers way back in 1988 with this name that explained exactly who we were. But I think since then, things have got far more complicated, albeit, we've had decriminalisation of sex work-related activities. We're allowed to keep brothels. We're allowed to earn a living and declare. We always had to declare tax regardless of whether it was against the law or not, which always was a bit, off. But it seems the weighting around anti-trafficking concerns and modern slavery concerns and exploitation works against um, enabling sex workers to get on and do what is safe to do, which is, bank your money, save, buy a house.
All the
those
things that
bits
we should all
involved.
be allowed to do. Yeah. I mean,
Exactly.
and Kath, can I just go back, because you said when you registered in 1988 as the New Zealand Prostitutes Collective, you don't use prostitutes. You don't say that word anymore. What is it? What do you
Only at the
go
bank. Only at the bank. We haven't changed our bank's
I
bank
see.
account name. But yes, we certainly use the word sex work and as opposed to prostitution and
Right.
sex worker.
So
So, so much easier to say and
Yeah.
has more of a meaning attached to it and
I get it.
recognition of labour rights. Yeah.
So you've touched on it, and for those that aren't, are aware that, well, actually, we're going to go back to the human rights. I want to touch on that as well. But so some banks have defended their extra scrutiny, citing caveats, and you did mention it, like exploitation or modern slavery, i.e., women are working in a brothel, they're slaves. What do you make of that?
It's a rare situation. I mean, it's not one that is typical. I think, the perception in some quarters might be that all sex work connects to exploitation. That's not a reality. So, we're saying, okay, denying people bank accounts if they're clearly exploiting sex workers might be an honourable way to stop and shut down exploitative practices. However, to look at a whole industry and say, well, we're doing this because we worry that you haven't addressed exploitation is really discriminatory and inappropriate. I mean, we know in the context of all work that you have to look out for exploitation, and we know in the context of modern slavery that that's true as well. That, there are other industries such as agricultural industries, fisheries, etc. We know that there are examples of exploitation and modern slavery in those contexts. So it's important not to discriminate just wholeheartedly against a whole industry such as ours.
Do you think they have a right, maybe that's not the right word, but, they've also said that we might be using extra scrutiny when it comes to, say, money laundering because the business may deal with a lot of cash. Do they have a leg to stand on there?
Well, it is an industry that historically has depended on cash. There are a lot of industries, I guess, in different contexts that wouldn't be so dependent, but it is shifting. There are lots of sex workers who operate accounts and want all the appropriate things that go with that, such as EFTPOS machines and the ability to be mobile and flexible. And banking services are really key to how things are done and, support good practice. And it's ironic that, we have a situation where they're working against good practice in that way by denying such facilities.
Or having to pay a double rental, I've heard, Catherine, for the EFTPOS machines.
Things like this. And I don't understand why that would be. I can't figure why that would be. And I guess it's that related to perception of risk again. And, this is where we've worked hard to build a research base so that we understand a lot about stigma and how sex workers are discriminated against. But perhaps, we need more research around these sorts of issues in terms of how they, denying services like this and on the basis of broad stroke analysis, like, oh, it's all exploitative, let's shut it all down and not just say no, really doesn't support the human rights and safety, health and well-being of sex workers. And maybe it is time for the Human Rights Commission to pick up the cudgels here on our behalf and look at occupation as a group and include us in protections.
Kiwis love being outdoors, so why not transform your outdoor living space with a sun view? With our quality range of stylish pergolas, outdoor blinds and awnings, having a sun view is like adding a new room to your home, but for a fraction of the price. Enjoy the outdoors all year round with a range of products to suit your needs. Book a free consultation now with SunView and see the difference.